Have you ever stopped and thought about why some things are priced the way they are? Like, you go to a farmer's market, and every stall is selling potatoes for pretty much the exact same price. But then you go to buy a new phone plan, and it feels like you're caught in this epic battle between a few giant companies. Well, that's not a coincidence. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden economic rules that control pretty much everything you buy.
This exact question gets to the heart of how our economy works. That potato market, it's operating in a world of pure head-to-head competition. But your phone plan, that's a whole different game. It's a strategic battlefield where just a few big players call the shots. And understanding that difference is really the key to understanding the world you shop in every single day.
So what's the secret? It all comes down to a concept called market structure. Now I know, that sounds a little academic, right? But trust me, it's basically a secret decoder for the economy. It explains why some industries feel super innovative and others feel kind of stuck, and why you have a million choices for one thing, but maybe only one or two for another.
Okay, so to really get this, I want you to imagine competition as a spectrum. On one far, far end, the most extreme, purest form of it, we find something called perfect competition. This is the world where those farmers market potatoes live.
So what is it exactly? Well, a perfectly competitive market has a ton of buyers and a ton of sellers, and they're all trading a product that's completely identical. We're talking about things like basic agricultural goods, corn, wheat, or even raw materials like copper. The product from one seller is exactly the same as the product from any other seller.
And here's what makes it all tick. First, you've got a huge number of sellers. Second, their products are all identical. They're perfect substitutes. And it's super easy for anyone to start or stop selling. Now, the crucial part is this. All of that means that no single seller has any power to influence the price. Not even a little bit.
And that brings us to this key idea. Firms in this market are called price takers. They don't get to make the price. They have to take the price the market gives them. The price just naturally settles where the total demand from all of us buyers meets the total supply from all those sellers. Everyone just has to accept it.
All right, so we've seen one extreme. Now let's slingshot all the way to the other end of the spectrum, the complete opposite. This is a world with zero competition. This is the world of a monopoly.
The definition here is incredibly simple but really powerful. It's a market with just one single seller of a product that has no close alternatives. A great example is usually your local public utility, like the water company. I mean, if you're unhappy with the price or service, what are you going to do? Switch to another water company? There isn't one.
So what creates a monopoly? It all comes down to what economists call strong barriers to entry. Think of them as giant walls that keep any potential competitors out. This could be insane startup costs, like building a whole new power grid, or legal protections like patents. These walls are what let that one single company become a price maker.
So when you put these two side by side, it's just night and day, right? Perfect competition has tons of firms with zero power. A monopoly has one firm with all the power. And it's so important to understand these two poles, because pretty much every business you interact with every day operates somewhere in between them. Right. Let's move away from those pure theoretical extremes and into what we could call the messy middle. This is where the real world lives. Economists call it imperfect competition, and this is where things get really interesting.
Our first stop here is something called monopolistic competition. And I know the name sounds like a total contradiction, right? But it actually makes a lot of sense. You have lots of firms, which sounds like perfect competition, but the key difference is their products are differentiated. They're not identical.
So if their products are all a little different, how do they compete? Well, it's not just about who's a few cents cheaper. They get into fierce, non-price competition. We're talking branding, advertising, packaging, service, anything to convince you that their version of the product is special and better than the others. They're not just selling a burger, they're selling the experience of their restaurant.
This is so easy to see in the real world. Just think about all the coffee shops in a single city. They all sell coffee, right? But one has the coziest chairs, another has the fastest Wi-Fi, and the third has some special organic beans from a single farm. They are all competing, but each one has carved out its own tiny little mini monopoly.
And that brings us to our final stop on the tour, and the one that finally explains your phone bill. This is the oligopoly. The simplest way to think about it is competition among the few. It's where just a handful of very large firms completely dominate an entire industry.
Now, the number one most important feature of an oligopoly is something called strategic interdependence. It's a fancy term, but the idea is simple. Because there are so few big players, they are all locked in a high-stakes chess match. Every single move one company makes, a price drop, a new ad campaign, directly and immediately affects all the others and forces them to make a countermove.
And this is exactly the game your mobile provider is playing. It's why the second one carrier announces a new unlimited data plan, the others rush to announce their own competing offers, sometimes within hours. They're constantly watching each other, anticipating each other, and reacting to each other.
Okay, so we've journeyed across the entire spectrum. Let's zoom out, bring it all together, and see what these 4 different market structures really mean for you and me.
Think of this table as your ultimate cheat sheet. Over on the far left, you have perfect competition. For you, that means the lowest possible price, but basically zero variety. All the way on the far right, you have a monopoly, which usually means the highest prices and no choice at all. And then there's that middle ground, right? Monopolistic competition gives us lots of choice and branding, while oligopolies are all about that strategic price war.
You know, when you really boil it all down, this whole complex landscape is shaped by just 2 key things: the number of companies in the market and how similar or different their products are. That's it. Those 2 factors pretty much determine everything else.
So if there's one thing to remember from all of this, let it be this. Number 1, the more companies there are selling identical stuff, the lower the price is going to be for you. Number 2, the fewer companies there are and the more unique their product is, the more power they have to charge higher prices. And number 3, most of the businesses you deal with are playing in that fascinating middle ground of branding, choice, and strategy.
And in the end, it really does all come back to this core idea. The structure of the market is what sets the rules of the game. It is the ultimate source of a company's power or lack of power over the price you pay.
So, next time you're out shopping or paying a bill, just take a second and look around. You'll start to see these forces everywhere. Are you in a world of price takers or price makers? Are you buying a simple commodity or a carefully crafted brand? Now that you know the rules of the game, you can see the whole thing in a new light.